Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fishing Long Island. Today I'm sitting here with Nick, good friend of mine.
What's going on, guys?
Fishing now for about maybe, what, 4 or 5 years, I guess?
Yeah, a solid 4 or 5 years
about
going.
that, yep.
Yeah.
Nick started his own YouTube page, primarily basically surf fishing.
Yeah, primarily surf fishing, targeting from the boat as well, plugging wise. Not too much bait, but that's pretty much, what we're doing.
Well, I'm just the opposite. I'm a boat guy. But Nick has told me he's going to teach me how to surf fish. So he said, go get yourself a surf bag, and he's going to show me all the lures to put in. So I'm sitting here with this brand new surf bag. It's going to have a lure in it, completely empty. But today, Nick's going to show me and talk to me about all the lures that we're going to put in here that I'm going to use for basically, simple surf fishing, all the beaches of Long Island. So Nick, let's get to it and show me what we need.
It would be my pleasure. Let's get to it. So this is pretty much the general lures I would use in terms of fishing the daytime, at first light, sun coming up and whatnot. The first one I'm going to start with is, this is a cotton cordell. This is a Smoky Joe. I've actually had funny stories about this one as well. I was using this at nighttime once. The bluefish and bass would not hit anything at Bay Park but this. So you have to take into consideration what you might not think would work actually ends up working in the end. And not one lure, not a single lure is pretty much limited to fishing at day and night, although there's certain things you want to recommend. But something like this, I would fish in the back bays, maybe up front, not a lot of white water and whatnot. But if we were to go to something like a tsunami talking popper, you'd throw this in heavier water. Something you got a 5-6 foot heave. I'm pretty sure this is the bunker color. This is the loaded XD as well. Caught plenty of fish along Long Beach and east of Long Beach. Just another great plug. The great thing about it as well is that I call it a hybrid lure because while you could walk it, you could also pop it, meaning that it also disperses water because it has this concave lip, as you guys can see here, as opposed to the cotton cordell or your old school wooden Gibbs, which doesn't really have much of a concave lip because it's supposed to, you're supposed to walk the dog with it back and forth. That's how you get the pumping in the rod. Last but not least, out of the top water we have, this is an Atom 40. This is primarily a sinking plug where you pop it because it's got the concave lip, as you guys can see here. I didn't put it on the table, but another great plug that you can throw would be the Super Strike 2 3/8 ounce. Those are great. The little neck poppers had a lot of luck, in the white water, along the beach. Excellent plug. The next type of lures I'm going to discuss are tins, and I feel like, in my opinion, they're probably one of the most underutilized plug. As Ralph Voda said, woods and plastics are good, but with tin you always win. It holds true. It goes back to the very first days of surf casting where they would squid along the beach with tins. This is your typical A17 greenie, the green tail. Love this. It's great when the sand eels are running or you have bay anchovies. Small white bait that gets in the wash. Excellent plug. The only complaint I have about these is the stock hooks. They're very difficult to replace, and if you have bigger fish around like we did this fall, I lost, you can even see on this hook it's kind of worn out. You'll bend out bigger fish on these stock hooks, which isn't good.
Notice this one's a hammered style too versus our standard regular diamond jig.
Yeah, the hammered, I feel it disperses more light when the sunlight hits it, and it's great. Another alternative to that of a regular diamond jig, this is a 2.5 ounce runoff tin. This is excellent. Sometimes the bass on the beach, they prefer green tails. Sometimes they prefer no tails. Sometimes they prefer hackles, like on this one. What makes this tin special is compared to, a regular diamond jig, the regular hackles with the hook on it, it tends to catch less of the air when you're casting it. So if those fish are sitting on an outer bar, you'll be able to reach them as opposed to throwing, plugs that tend to tumble and spin. Yeah, so it's very important to understand that you can't go to the beach thinking you're going to throw, whether it's a redfin or a bucktail every time. If you have a 20-30 mile an hour southerly heave, it's going to be very difficult since the wind's going to catch those hairs and anything else hanging off the back of these plugs. So as a whole, this is my go-to in terms of whether the sand eels are around. If the fish are real finicky and in tight to the beach, I would throw the Tsunami sand eel. This is the 6-inch. A lot of guys like the 7, 8s, and 9s, but I feel on the South Shore of Long Island, especially the Western South Shore, we don't really get that big of sand eels. I feel like this is probably the most accurate presentation. And the bass just love them. They key in on them and they crush them. But in order to, you know, cast something like this, I have previous videos on how to tie the 6-inch Tsunami sand eel teaser. Go check it out. Other than that, if you want to throw it just a bare hook on a TA clip, you'd want to throw it on a moderate action rod, closer to moderate fast, your preference. But that pretty much covers that. Now we're going to get into bunker style swim baits. You know, this is the Diesel Minnow by Z-Man. Very, very flexible. You guys can see that.
Super stretch, yeah. Super
stretch. It won't tear on bluefish. I believe, I don't know the jig head, but this is either 3/4 ounce or 1 ounce. You know, these types of swim baits I would throw in the Western Sound early in the year, Little Neck Bay, those types of areas. Another great one, has a little bit of a different action, would be the Tsunami swim shad. I know Storm has a swim shad as well. What I like about this is the weighting is distributed different as opposed to just having the Z-Man, in that it's bottom weighted. So when you go to, you know, pump the rod, it's going to have a much slower fall. I believe in the springtime when the fish are, you know, a lot more finicky, the water temperatures are a lot colder, they're going to key in on that, you know, slower presentation. Especially those holdover big fish you're going to be getting at the end of March, you know, beginning of April.
Now my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite as well. Can't go wrong with the bucktail. You can fish it in such a wide variety of applications, like I've mentioned in the past. If you watch my previous videos, you can see this guy has battle scars on him. He's all torn up from being on the jetty.
That looks like a little cannonball, that one. So what head would that be? Is that like a cannonball head? Or?
This is called a bullhead sinker.
Bullhead, okay.
Yeah, it's an Andros bullhead. This is a 1 1/4 ounce. You know, I love this for cutting the water, especially when you're on a jetty, as opposed to something that has an open lip. I don't have it in the video, but you guys know, you know, surfcasters, regular boat guys, they know about the Andros rip splitter, the one that has a smiling bill. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like it catches the wind more. It doesn't really get down in that strike zone, foot and a half off the bottom. The only complaint I do have about this hook, I've also mentioned, is it has a tendency to straighten out when there's bigger fish around. I don't have the specific one, but I lost a very big fish this fall because of this bucktail. It's fine on, you know, teen size fish and schoolies, but I wouldn't recommend anything bigger than that. You want a beefier hook like you would see on an Andros jetty caster and whatnot. This is custom made. This is a 1 ounce banana head. I don't know who makes this particular bucktail, but my buddy Joe from Pizzaiola, shout out to you. He gave me this one, and the same thing, same action as you would have on a, you know, Storm swim shad. It has a high rise and a slow fall like you'd see, because it has a lowered bottom and it comes to a point on the top. That's what causes the, you know, straight up very fast and have a very slow fall. Very effective in the back bays, open beach. Wouldn't recommend it in the inlet. Alright, so last but not least, we have the Daiwa SP Minnow. I believe this is the 6-inch. The particular model should be on the bottom. This is a 15F. The F means that it's a floating. Growing up, you know, fishing these from the very beginning, I've always used the floating. You know, they have the bigger sizes, the sinking sizes. You got the bullets without the lip. I just prefer the regular, you know, floating with the lip. You've caught plenty of fish. If you have the right rod, you know, moderate fast, the moderate rod, it's going to load it up fine. And if you guys can see up there in that video, in the picture, I should say, a lot of guys, you know, they don't knock the lure, but they say, you know, it doesn't catch big fish. It clearly does. We weighed on the boat. It was a 40-pound bass in the middle of the day. The only complaint, or not even complaint, concern about this plug is you have to change out the split rings. These ones are actually bigger than the originals they used to put on. Major improvement, but as a whole, I still recommend changing them out. I put 1/0 Yeah, 1/0, 2 times strong VMCs on them as well, as opposed to stock hooks, which tend to bend out as well.
Can't go along with the VMCs, that's for sure. Strong hooks.
A lot, you know, even a lot of the Super Strike lures, they're coming with those heavy duty VMCs on them. And, you know, these are great plugs. I call them hybrid plugs, you know, just like I would call the Bucktail, because, you know, they catch just as many fish during the day as they do the nighttime. So, like I said, something I'm really trying to, you know, emphasize on you guys, and maybe guys that are new to the sport, is, you know, don't take one lure and think it's one-dimensional, because there are lures that could do many different things in many different applications.
With that chicken scratch one, basically the same thing?
Yeah. I actually call what they call the bunker color. I call it the chrome chicken scratch. It's pretty much the same pattern in terms of, you know, you have the 3, 3, 3, all the dots. You have pretty much the same dots. This is kind of, you know, torn up. It's seen use, but you get the idea.
Sure.
But last but not least, you know, if the fish are really, really finicky, you know, the chunking guys are really gonna like this. I always keep a bunker snagger on me during the day. I had one day this year on a South Shore beach, and, you know, guys are getting hits on plugs and swirls and whatnot, but, you know, I was snagging and dropping bunker, and they wanted the actual presentation. So some guys, you know, are purists and say, you know, I use plugs and I use plugs only. I feel like you have to be versatile in the sense that, you know, sometimes you gotta go to the dark side and, you know, give them what they want, because, you know, if you're stubborn, you don't want to change, you know, that's the difference between the guy that's producing that day and the guy that's not producing. So
yeah, nothing wrong with bait.
Yeah, nothing wrong with bait. Bait is great.
So basically, okay, so for my bag, these are my daytime lures right now, as Nick showed you, and he actually explained every one, which I didn't expect. So that was awesome that he explained them all for us, so we know how they work, what they're gonna do, and basically when to use them.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll show you the bag now.
So next we're gonna go to, you got the bag there, right?
Yeah, so this is the bag, and pretty much how you'd fill them, you know, no particular order. Obviously, you know, you could put your SP minnows in here, and since they have four ridges, you could put 2 plugs in each if you really wanted to. So here go 2 SP minnows.
So I noticed you're going heads up. When I was young,
heads up,
we had the old green canvas bags, and we would put them, you know, heads down.
Right.
So it's actually better that way.
Yeah, I prefer it this way. You can see it. It's easier to grab the lip as opposed to try, you know, grab the treble and get hurt as well. You know, I like to throw bucktails and whatnot. You know, if I have them in a plastic bag, I'll just throw them in the back here like I would my swim baits and whatnot. But, you know, the tin tubes are great. You know, most plug bags come with the tin tubes, you can see. So, you know what you do? You just slide it right in.
That's cool. To be honest, I didn't even know that was there.
Yeah, slide it right in, just like that. You know, your swimmers, you can do the same thing. You just slide them in like this. Or, if that's not your preference, you could slide it in like that. This I'm not too big of a fan, because you go to close it, tends to bend the tail. It's not gonna impart the same action. So you could, I don't know if this guy's gonna fit. He should. Yeah, he won't fit.
We get the gist of this.
Yeah, get the gist. We'll just leave him. Same thing, you know, tsunami sand deals. I'll put in the tin tube as well. Since they're a longer profile bait, they're gonna bend. You know, not a big deal. Just got to watch out how they're laying in the bag. But this is what they're primarily meant for. You know, the runoff tins and diamond jigs, you would put in the tin tubes like this. You know, when I first started surfcasting, I didn't even know about the tin tubes. I'm like, I don't even know why these things are in here. But, you know, it's just funny that way. But this is what I was going to mention as well. With the diamond jigs, what I found too is if you fold them in half and put them in first, look how beautiful that lays.
Sure, yep.
See? Yep. Now if you went to pull it out and just, you know, slap it in here like that, you got this hook laying around. You know, you could go grab another plug.
That's a nice little tip right there.
Yeah, you're gonna have, you know, problems in your hand. So yeah, fits perfect like that. Now we're on to the bigger baits like the Atom 40s and whatnot, and the Super Strikes. These are a lot easier, you know. You just fit them in like this. They're gonna take up a lot more space as opposed to the swimming plugs. So my recommendation would be, you know, 1 per slot and whatnot. Put another Gibbs in. So I mentioned the 4 ridges before. So what I like to do is you can put 2 and 2 on the inside, and on the opposing side, Oh, you could do that. But if you had a smaller plug, that's not gonna work. But
put on the outside holes.
Yeah, I'll do it with the next one. So if you had something smaller like a cotton cordell, like a Smoky Joe, boom, you can put it on the outside there, and assuming you had another plug here, it's not going to get in the way, the trebles aren't going to cross, so on and so forth.
Make the most room for you.
And last but not least, well, not last but not least because we got the snagger, we have a talking popper. Just plop it right in because it's a bigger plug. It's going to take up a lot of space. And in terms of treble hooks, I have a 2-tube bag. I'll show you guys in a later video. But you know, you can just fit in here like this. No problem. It's just like a plug. Great thing about a 2-tube is you can just hang them off the side in a circular motion and whatnot. But you know, you guys get the gist. There's still, you know, 4 spaces open, but again, you could vary. You could put more plugs, more poppers, or if they're hitting more of the swimmers, you can put more swimmers. But yeah, then all you do is just close it up and you're good to go. If I had some fat cows, if you had some otter strips, put them right in the side. That's what I would typically do. And you got 2, or you can put pliers in the other one, or you know, scale or any measuring tape, and that pretty much covers you for the day bite.
Well, that's my day bite. Next, we're gonna go into the night bite.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what I would throw in my night bag. You know, now I'm going to start working a lot more. I'm going to have to, you know, force to fish more at night and whatnot. You know, get busy. People get busy. Stuff happens. First plug I'm going to talk about. This is, I believe, either a 5 or 6 inch redfin. This is perfect. I consider it a wake bait. Just a very slow retrieve at night. And you know, it's just gonna wobble along, wiggle along just like that, and bass just cannot stand it. You know, a lot of the guys out in Montauk, I feel, what's his name, Joe Bragan, loves the redfins. I love my redfins too. They used the bigger size. They used a 7-inch redfin, you know, bigger bass out there and whatnot. I like to throw this in the back bays. You're not gonna really throw this up front, a 5-6 inch. You know, you're not gonna get a lot of wind behind your cast. But it's great, you know, it's considered a wake bait. The opposite end of the spectrum on the table, same concept though, but it's different in terms of size and whatnot. This is your classic Gibbs. A lot of people call them Danny plugs and whatnot. This is great for big bass at night. It's a big fish plug around the June moon. I don't have as much experience with big metal lips. You know, fisheries changed, like I've mentioned in previous lectures and whatnot. Not as many big fish local like there used to be, but from what I've heard and how I've thrown it, you know, it's a big fish plug, slow retrieve. You guys get the idea.
And then when I was fishing those lures, it was the same thing. Very slow. You'd see it cause a little wake, and that was it. And you just come, you see the ass wiggle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, those big fish, they don't like a lot of commotion. They want, you know, they know what they want. They want a nice slow presentation. That's what a lot of these baits here accomplish. I'll go back to my SP Minnow briefly because as good of a productive bait it is during the day, I feel like I've done, you know, tenfold at night. As long as you have slower moving water. I don't like this in heavy rips as much, you know, even though, you know, many other, you know, swimming plugs out there like I have in here, like the Bombers and the Swing Mullets, they're great too, but they just don't hold in the current as well as the SP Minnow. And as a whole, I find that swim plugs don't hold well in current. I feel like, you know, shallow flats, 5 to 10 foot max is where you're going to really be using this lure. So I call it the cousin of, you know, the daughter and the SP Minnow. I feel like it's a hybrid. This is a MagDaughter. I know Joey's had some guys on his boat that crush them on this bait. You can see it kind of resembles the body of an SP Minnow, but at the same time it has that 45-degree angle on the head like a daughter. And it's not a typical daughter, you know, but it produces fish. Especially the best where I've done this with this plug is, you know, back bays, you know, estuaries, you know, back of canals. Very productive at night. This is, I don't know this color off the top of my head, but typically around the new moon you can get the idea. It has a darker shading. A lot of these fish, especially when you're fishing at night, they're keen in on shading. So if you're fishing around the new moon, it doesn't make sense to throw a white or something that's really bright. You'd want to throw your blacks, your blues, your purples. You get the idea.
Let's talk about this lure, actually, how you would swim that lure. Because a lot of people don't know actually how to swim a MagDaughter. So you're casting it, how are you going to retrieve that?
So you make a cast, and depending on the size rod you're using, I typically throw this, I don't have the rod next to me, on a 8/8 Tsunami. So you do your best to point the rod towards the water and really dig. It's a lot easier to if you're throwing it on a 7.5 foot rod. You want to dig, and give it a good 5, 6, 7 turns to really get it down 5, 6 feet, and then just ease up on that retrieve. And what that's going to do is it's going to have a slow rise. It's going to have a slow rise to that bait, and more often than not, fish around here, with the exception if they're feeding on a moving tide where they're actively looking to feed, more often than not, they're swimming around in a neutral position. So any irregularities or any sudden movements is going to cause a reaction strike, which I would compare to something in freshwater, which also comes from my roots. It's funny how things, subconsciously work like that when you think.
That's the same thing with a bunker spoon. That bunker spoon changes its action and boom,
right.
You get a reaction strike on it.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your videos, how you're making a turn on the boat. One spoon's gonna dip, the other one's gonna rise. One of those bass gonna see it, depending on where they are in the water column, and they're just gonna smack it.
And it changes the action of it too. But.
Yeah. Next one I'm gonna talk about. I typically don't use this one a lot because, again, where I fish on the South Shore of Long Island, it's mostly shallow rips. But this is a bottle plug by Super Strike. I believe this is the 2 3/8. Just as a side note, plugs that have a red eye under the Super Strike lures are weighted, which means when you cast them, they're going to sink. Anything that has a black and red typically sinks. Well, it obviously sinks. Anything with a green eye floats. This is something you throw at the rip of, if you fish demo, Fire Island Inlet, where you have very deep water. You got the big bait around, you got the bunker, maybe you got herring around, which your daughter replicates, very well as well. And same thing as the MagDaughter. You dig it in, and very slow retrieve. All these three are very the same, that you would dig them and ease up on that retrieve.
And
very, very slow.
Right here, right?
Yeah, that's your yellow daughter. Like. There's an omen when you go to Montauk. I don't go to Montauk that much, but if you're not carrying a yellow daughter in your bag, you might as well go home. It's a given. It's the go-to night plug besides the bucktail.
Really yellow, huh?
Yeah, yellow daughter. A lot of guys, especially Zeno, he mentioned. Now I'm gonna move on to something that's rather different as opposed to the other two Super Strikes. This is a needlefish. This is a weighted needlefish. This is great at resembling if you have obviously needlefish around. That's the name of the plug. I know back then we used to get a lot more in the back bays. We don't really get them like we used to. I would use this somewhere in the back bays around here. Although I was fishing an inlet on the South Shore, and I was being stubborn one day, and my buddy Pino, he whips one out. No one's catching fish, but they're busting everywhere. First cast with a same size, same color needlefish. He just whacks a 20-pound bass like it's nothing. So when they're really keen in on a bait and a shape, they're looking at a profile. They don't use logic in the sense that well, wow, this looks right or this looks nice because it looks this way. They just know when something's right and when something's wrong. And this is perfect for eels, sand eels, and needlefish, like I mentioned. Primarily a night plug, but again, you catch them during the day. But there are other options that work, the same, if not better, during the day. Last but not least, like I mentioned in the daytime bag, I would throw bucktails. I already mentioned the 1.25 ounce ball head, so I'm going to go to, this is a custom black bucktail. My buddy Sammy gave this to me. Depending on the moon, if you're fishing a full moon, you'd want to throw whites. But, white gets you through pretty much every situation. But if you want to, make things interesting around, you're fishing a new moon, the fish are finicky, go to a black and, you could put a fat cow strip on it, whether it's white or I know they make the black ones as well. But great strips to catch fish. They don't tear off, A lot of guys like Uncle Josh's pork rind as well. There's two problems with them though. They tend to dry up if you leave them on the hook, and the reason why I know that is because I've done it.
Impossible to get off.
Yeah, impossible to get off. It's like concrete. The second problem is they don't make bait anymore. So if they're not producing, you can't buy it. And it's as simple as that. But yeah, this pretty much covers the arsenal I would throw in my night bag. But maybe I'd throw a pencil popper in there as well, because I mentioned, I had one night where that was the only plug they wanted, and that just astounded me. But funny things happen, and the smallest changes make the biggest difference. So last but not least, I'm going to talk about surf belt. I'm not going to get into boots, waders, and whatnot. That's not the purpose. But this is a Gear Up surf belt. I got it from J&H for $80. Highly recommend this belt. I also believe that Rock Hopper makes a very good one too. They sell them at Saltwaters and J&H. It's very durable as opposed to the Aquaskins belt. I love it. I used to have an Aquaskins. Not saying there's anything bad, but it's a good startup belt, the Aquaskins. If you want to bump your game up as opposed to just a plug bag or a weaker belt, so be it. But if you want to step it up, go with the Gear Up. The bags I have attached to it, this is a Surf Right Supreme. This is relatively cheap, I believe between 30 and 40 bucks. This is where I throw my SP minnows in. And you see I have, I haven't cleaned this out in a while, but I have my tins hanging out the back. Because I keep the runoff tins in there, as well as diamond jigs, and I do store my Tsunami sand deals in there as well. Great bag for the price. It'll last you a while. See these straps here? This is what allows you to put it on the belt, so I'm not going to take it totally off, but you wrap it around the bottom and it attaches to the belt. Excellent. It also has where you store your pliers. These are cheap Evolutions. I don't have anything high-end like Van Stalls and whatnot, but they do the job. They get the job done. I believe these are $50. I got these Outdoorsmen. Always carry a lanyard on you. Very important. Oh, it fell. But yeah, very important in case they fall out. You're not going to lose them. What else we have here? I'm going to work my way around. This is an Aquaskins Bucktail Pouch. This is typically where I put all my bucktails. You can see here. I have anywhere from, I feel like this is 1.25 ounces. These are the jetty casters I was telling you guys about. You can see I have a much beefier hook as opposed to that ball-headed jig. You're not going to bend the hook out on a 20, 30, 40 pound fish. What other ones do I have in here? This bigger, 1.5 ounces, 2 ounces. This is what I would throw on the jetty. I trim the hair too, because something I didn't mention about the bucktail is hair density affects how deep you go in the water column. So the less hair, the deeper it's going to sink. The more hair, the more it's going to rise up. You get the idea. Let's move over. So this is a pretty neat trick. I actually put the leader line on my belt so it's free swinging like this, as opposed to trying to fit in one of these bags, because the song remains the same in the fact that it's not going to fit in your bag. It's too wide. You're not going to fit as many lures. Very important. So you just pull the line, comes out right off the belt, no problem.
What leader is your go-to leader, basically? I know you can have your heavier, you can have your lighter, but what leader would I use? Just, daytime casting like the lures you showed me?
Depending on the spot and depending on the general size fish I know in the area. So say the back bay is where it's typically smaller fish, I would go 20, 30 pound test mono, or fluoro, your preference. I just feel like fluoro is very expensive. If I'm fishing the open beach or inlets, I'll bump it up to 40, 50. I even have spots where I'll go 60 pound, which I have here. This is 60 pound Seaguar fluoro. But again, very expensive, but if I know the big fish are around for sure, spend the extra bucks, you're gonna save yourself some fish. Moving on, I always carry a pair of Billy Bays on me. You get these at Saltwaters, as well as the 10-foot lanyard. A lot of guys are like, oh, I don't like longer lanyards. I like the longer lanyards. They wear out a lot less. If you have a shorter one that only extends 4 or 5 feet, that cord's gonna get worn out. But grab yourself a pair of Billy Bays or Rapala grippers, or if you want a boga, I'm probably gonna get a boga eventually, but since, you know, when I'm taking the measurements on fish, which is gonna bring me to my next point, is I always keep measuring tape on me. Fine, that's $2-3. So I don't know if you guys know the formula. There's an app you could probably download for it. You could do length times girth, and that'll give you the approximate weight of the fish that you caught. As opposed to a boga, I feel like the boga could be slightly off or whatnot. I want, you know, exact, you know, approximation, because I wasn't able to measure my fish. I didn't have measuring tape on me that day with that 40-pounder. Just pretty much, you know, whatever. Another thing I like to carry is a hook sharpener. I don't remember exactly. I believe I got this at J&H. They tend to, you know, send you free stuff, stickers and whatnot. Pretty cool. It's really good, you know, sharpen your hooks, you know, especially with these bigger fish. They have mouths like vice grips. You really want to punch that hook through. Just another, you know, typical thing I carry in my bag. And last but not least, I'll show you the inside of, this is an Elite Hunter bag. This is around between 100 and 150 bucks. This is where I would carry my snaggers, my daughters, my bottle plugs. You can see pencils, you know, little neck poppers and red fins. So as a general rule of thumb, you can take away from this. So my 2-tube, I'll throw my bigger plugs. It's a bigger bag. In my 3-slot, I'll throw my swimmers and my 10s. And that pretty much covers you on the beach. And you want to see what the buckle looks like and how it works. It's got an oversized Velcro grip. You just unattach it like that. It goes around the belt like this, around the waist, I should say. You just feed it through.
That's definitely secure. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
There you go. Now, it's not going to be part of this video, but typically I wear my pants, my togs, and I have a coat. I put the coat on over that, then the belt goes over that. If you fall over, you're not going to fill up.
Yeah, it's
just as simple as that.
That's actually very important to avoid. Is that people lost a kid recently, I believe.
Yeah, it's very sad. Some guy, you know, you got to take safety first, and, you know, having a belt, having a jacket, and having the right pants is only going to benefit you.
I always was told back in the day, a seatbelt cutter was good to have, because you could just take it, you know, like an envelope opener, hook it up here and just rip straight down. And it'll just wide open
everything right up, you know. But yeah, that pretty much covers the type of belt I would use, and, you know, just something to your best interest.
Hey Nick, man, thank you so much for spending the time with me and talking about surfing and getting my bag rigged. I didn't tell you, by the way, I'm keeping all the lures that you put in my bag, but whatever. No, I appreciate that. But Nick, talk about your YouTube channel too. Let the the viewers know you have a channel too. That's a lot of surf fishing information on that channel.
Yeah, you know, I'm up to, I think this is my 16th video, if I'm not mistaken, and you know, just if you guys can support, and please like, comment, hit that subscribe button, it really help me, help to get me out there into the surf casting community and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is my passion. I know a lot of people have the same passion I do, and introducing Joey back into the surf casting outlet, nothing better.
And what's the page though?
Surfcasting the Island. That's the name of the page. Okay. Yup, and you can follow me on Instagram. It's the same, at Surfcasting the Island.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumb up. Give me the comments. I love the comments. And always remember to hit that bell. This way you'll be notified when another video comes out. Thank you so much guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you guys.